to carry on. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, they're here.
They're here to talk about it.
You guys ready? Y'all recognize this guy?
Who's that guy?
Wow.
Who is that guy?
Look at that.
That
Look at that.
You want money, baby, you got it. You got it.
Can you introduce yourself?
John Doe.
Floor is yours.
Jeannie, if you want to start off.
Sure, thank you. So today we're here requesting, I'm Jenny Garcia from MOUTV/Easy Rider, General Manager over there. So, but today we are here requesting a $200,000 per month due to the current partial federal government shutdown. Currently, we are unable to pull down our federal money. We have federal money sitting there, 1.29 right now, and we have a grant waiting to be approved and awarded. But we can't get that, any of that going to go through until the shutdown is over. So we're at the point where we're being proactive, almost out of cash flow, and needing $200,000 to continue the operational services. It's only covering operational expenses, no capital purchase, no construction or anything of that sort.
So has Midland already approved it?
Yes,
And it's the same dollar amount.
yes, 200,000.
I think they approved it this morning
Yes.
at their meeting this morning.
And our average expenses monthly are about 500,000.
But we get part of that money from the state, a little over 70,000 usually per month. And of course, our fare box, 20, 25, somewhere in there, plus a little advertising money. So I feel 200 will probably tide us through just fine until we get this back online.
And then you just turn around and reimburse it.
Exactly.
All the money will come,
Yes.
once the Fed kicks out, it all comes to the city's bank account anyway automatically. Y'all are the direct recipient. So any money outstanding, y'all are gonna get first shot at it. So.
Okay. Any questions?
Sorry for the inconvenience.
Mike, you have anything to say?
It's one of those things, you gotta be careful what you wish for. We want a wall awful bad, but this is the cost. Careful what you wish for. Thank you, guys.
Great for y'all are a temporary
It's good
bank
seeing
for
you.
us, we appreciate it.
See you guys.
Without a reserve.
Good to see you.
You want to sit here?
No. I'm good. I know y'all can handle, I know y'all
Did
can
you want to
handle
stay
it.
on that board?
I will tell you, I will be proud to serve on that board as long as I'm until they.
It is.
That's going to be good seeing you.
The small urban communities are being affected. Because we're federal money that funded.
Did you have something for me to say?
You're good. Yes.
There is something for him to-
Oh,
Let me sign
she
it right
has
quick
it.
and all.
Okay, she has it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, okay, looks like Randy Spencer is the young lady. She will be under the resolutions.
Is y'all wait?
We'll wait out here.
Item 2, in talking with Seliger's office and Brooks Landgraf and Kraft, they just want a resolution from council saying that we would like them to do this for us. So that's all that is.
Item 2.
Item 2. Then also, we've also talked a little bit about doing something for game rooms. Chief Gerke will have that information, or Mike will go.
They sent, you know, that,
They did send the information out. What the chief has said is, basically, they don't want us inside there. But they don't call the police, it's just the things we have to deal with around them. What we talked about is maybe just saying, hey, ask the state to maybe allow us to increase the requirements or the funds that we get off of the machines. And,
but not ban, we're
Not
not
ban.
gonna use the term ban.
so, because that's one little paper going up there, and by the time it hits the House floor, you just don't know where it's gonna go from there.
So basically what we're gonna just gonna support whatever the legislation comes up with.
Just do something. We just need to do something, you know, especially the one on Andrews Highway. We got a lot of complaints from citizens with syringes in the parking lot, paraphernalia in the parking lot, and a lot of citizens didn't feel safe. They have had to shut some of them down. I know the one on Grandview, right there by Golf, et cetera. They've done stings there. What happens is they usually give away coupons. That evolves into money, and that's when they get them.
So can our officers not just go in based on, they have a permit with the city?
They have to
have a reason.
You have to send somebody in undercover typically, and they have to get money.
To see
Then you
if that's
send
how
them.
they're doing it instead of coupons.
You just can't go in and say,
We recently went into one where we had some complaints. We sent an officer, an undercover officer, and we went back later and halted their operations because their machines didn't have the appropriate licenses or stickers.
yeah, it's all regulated.
Right.
So our motion then, Gary, would be to support whatever efforts were arrived at the state legislators that.
I guess you're encouraging the legislature to
Yes.
relook at game rooms and how to
The
more
crime
strictly
associated with it.
regulate more, and address illegal activities in the area, rather than, you're not attacking the game room, it's the illegal activities going on around there.
Yeah.
So you're encouraging and supporting legislative efforts to relook at game rooms and how to better regulate illegal activities that are occurring in the area of game.
You know what?
So are we,
The problem I had with that report that the chief sent out was most of the arrests were speeding.
Traffic dollars.
Yeah.
You know, or traffic violations, and I'm thinking, well, I don't see the relationship here.
But over the last 5 years, I guess they've had stings 3 times.
See the chiefs here.
And what they do is, you open it up under your name. We come in and bust it all. We take the motherboards out of the machines. They get new motherboards and open it up in your name a week later. And then we start this whole cycle again. And we've had a lady that came in, she came visiting me, she came to visit Michael. She was actually the one that went in and did the stings. She said, yeah, you know, a lot of it's a member only. So you pay a $20 fee and you're a member and you can come in here, and that's how they try to keep people out. They're gonna let them know what's going on.
I accidentally walked in one of these about 3 weeks ago. Took my girlfriend to the nail, and it said game room.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Pac-Man.
Yeah.
I walked right into it and turned right back around, like, man. My question though is, are we specifically trying to ban this thing, just to kind of clarify? Are we trying to ban this thing, or are we trying to just seriously regulate it?
We're trying to regulate it. We're just trying to get them from, you know, the people that it brings in with the amount of money. I've heard, in essence, 10,000 a week.
You know, we're gonna strike this language out of,
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, just have we support anything legislators can do to further regulate this
Regulate,
industry.
to regulate, yeah, rather than ban.
And address the criminal parts of it. Because, I mean, there may be good ones out there, but you just never hear of them. This is also, the county is doing the same thing, because they're having a lot of issues with them, so.
Oh, yeah,
can we
we're in
hear
the
from
county
them?
and passed by.
They've already passed theirs and
They
it's
don't even
ready
have
to go.
signs
I'm saying, can
on some of
we
those
hear from them?
businesses, you know.
Come in here and listen to it.
We can, but the problem is we're running up against the end of the time for the legislature. It has to be posted, it has to be kind of like we do. So, okay, then we have.
Based on your comments, I'll try to make some changes to the wording of that resolution so that by the time we get to the council
So it's
meeting,
not
you
here,
can kind of see what
there.
it's looking at.
Right.
But before you're asked about it.
Okay, then we do have a public hearing. We'll go through that, and then a couple of ordinances, and then that will wrap it up. Except for the appointments to boards, and that will be covered in just a little bit in the briefing. Next one is Philip.
Council, Mr. Mayor, we wanted to discuss with you our request for proposal that we issue for record service for the city. This is a RFP that's issued for the police department, and what this contract handles is any vehicle that is impounded. So if you're arrested within the city by a police officer and you're in your vehicle and it's taken from you, we'll have a record service that'll take that vehicle and impound that vehicle. We do receive a lot of abandoned vehicles, so there may be vehicles on the side of the road that break down, or people just may up and leave their vehicle and not make the payments on it, and it gets placed in the abandoned lot there. And also investigation of vehicles. There may be vehicles that are involved in crimes that need to be stored for investigative purposes for the police department. And then also with this contract, there is a disposition of vehicles. So any of these vehicles that we receive or that the record receives, after 90 days, they can be auctioned off, and those proceeds can go to the city through the auction, or they can go to the record service. But that's something we'll discuss. When we send this RFP out, we send it to all, or we will send it to all registered TDLR, and that's the Texas Department of License and Regulation. Anyone that has a Odessa address and that's a towing service, we'll send them the RFP to ensure that they have the fair opportunity to receive the RFP and put in a response. So within the contract, there's requirements that we have. The first is that we require it to be a 5-year contract. The second is that they operate a yard within the city limits. They must submit an operation plan and provide to us if they have previous experience of operating a record service. They have to have a $100,000 performance bond and then $1 million of general liability. Their towing costs and their operation that they submit to us are all subject to that TDLR group as well. They have rules that govern what they can charge, how long they can hold the vehicle, things of that nature. So all of their services are subject to that. Their lot must be 24-hour service, and their yard should have a capacity of 250 vehicles. We ask that they have a minimum of 6 light-duty units so they can tow everyday cars and trucks, and then 2 heavy-duty units to tow heavy items, 18-wheelers, heavy equipment. Within the RFP, something new that we're putting in there is that they pay an annual fee to the city for this contract. This is something that other cities do. An example of this is the city of Midland does this, where the towing agency, to get all of our vehicles, get all of the tow service, and handle all the auctions, they then in turn pay a fee to the city annually for the service. And then with that, all vehicles go to auction after 90 days of not being claimed.
Are these the same requirements as before?
Correct, yes, sir. Other than the fee being paid to the city, that's the one thing that has changed, yes, sir. So with the
So what's the purpose of the fee?
The purpose of the fee is they are going to, and I say they, the record service that we awarded to are going to handle all of the auctions from now on. That's what is new for the RFP. Previously, we handled the auction, and what that did is that we received the proceeds from the auction, but we tied up 2 employees at the police department that dealt nothing with auction. We also we're inundated with people looking for their cars, always wanting to see what's going on, whether it's an investigation or abandoned vehicle. So with this, the burden then lies on the contractor, but on the flip end, they receive any of the proceeds from the auction of the sale of the vehicle. So it's essentially what I've called in my head is a franchise fee. They're paying us to operate the city as a record service.
And this is following, what City of Midland is doing, as well as other cities.
The objective was to get away from the administrative work.
And the liability.
So just a question, if somebody owes money on their car, you can't auction it because it's not free and clear, how does that work?
So if the vehicle, if they owe money on it, it does become an unclaimed property, and there's steps that can be taken to auction the vehicle. So you have the responsibility to make sure you claim your vehicle, or else it will be.
But that's the record service.
That's going to be the burden of the record service. That was on the burden of the city, and there were 2 employees that were inundated with that paperwork.
Do we receive any money from that process? Let's say they do take the step or take the process and to go ahead and I guess buy the vehicle, so to say, or repossess the vehicle.
Sure, so the record service?
Yeah, the record service. Let's say they grab someone's vehicle.
Yes, sir.
They're still paying notes on it, but that's their issue. The car sits there, all of a sudden the wrecker goes to
Sure.
take ownership
So-
of
so-
the vehicle, do we get any of those proceeds once they sell the vehicle?
Yes, sir. So typically what happens if there's still a note on the vehicle, the banks will come in and claim that vehicle back.
Right.
And they are responsible for, when they pull that vehicle out, of paying whatever fees may have been in there for storage or any other fees that are associated with it. Yes, sir. So with the
So
contract.
that goes to the city?
I'm sorry?
That comes back to the city, or that goes to the record service?
So in the new process that we're proposing is that it would go to the record service, and that's why they're gonna be paying us that annual fee for having the rights to the record service.
But previously it did come
It
to
come
the
to the
city.
So with the contract, there's several things that we'll look at. The first is, of course, we'll look at a cost
Go.
analysis with, yes, sir?
Not to interrupt, but why the change?
Why the change? So, in visiting with the police department, we've talked about it a little bit, that we were inundated with so much paperwork, we had so much time involved with the auction process, that it was becoming cumbersome for the police department to handle that. On the flip end, we also had an individual that approached the city and said that there may be easier processes for the city to handle the auctioning services. And so we, after reviewing that, decided to move that route, that it frees up employees, it takes a lot of the burden off the city for the vehicles.
How did you arrive at the fee?
So within the packet, they tell us the fee that they're willing to propose, and that's part of our scoring and the cost analysis. They're gonna tell us what they'll pay us, the city, annually to have the record service.
And so who's going to make the final determination?
So with this is a scoring sheet that staff will look at. And we'll base off our cost analysis. We'll look at their equipment and their personnel, seeing what kind of equipment they have that they can meet our needs. We'll look at their facility, their prior experience, and their references to give them a score. Now, staff will bring a recommendation to council, but it's always council's decision on who they want to go with. But staff will bring an educated score to the council to let them know why we're recommending one group over another.
So you're saying you guys are gonna filter before you bring it to us? Or you guys are not gonna allow us to look at every single contract that comes to the table?
So we can, if that's the direction that council wants to go. Previous precedent is that staff will review the bid packets and will provide a recommendation to council.
If council wants to look at all of that information, certainly.
I mean, a lot of that facilities, prior experience, things like that, that's things.
My concern is the uniformity. If, we're looking for a red tie here, then we should be looking for a red tie here as far as the companies are concerned. You understand what I'm saying? So, do you guys have some type of uniform code in place to say, this is the standard equipment that we want, and if it's not there, then you guys don't qualify? Or are you guys just picking and choosing?
No, sir. So within the bid packet, we, if I can go back here.
One more.
Within the bid packet, we asked that they have a minimum of 6 light-duty trucks and 2 heavy-duty trucks. That's just an example I'm utilizing here. So in the equipment area, we would obviously score someone higher that has and meets those requirements. Now, if someone proposes and they have 1 truck, we will give them a lower score than someone that has the requirements and meets all the requirements within the bid packet. The bid packet does detail what we want, the 5 years of experience, the facility requirements, the prior experience, and then providing references. So there's a detailed score sheet for them to follow and know what they need to be able to score high for this article. So
Thank you
with
for
this-
that, by the way.
Yes, sir, no problem. So, going back to, we did have some outside representatives, another towing company or towing individual approached the city, and some of the council that was on previous may recall a gentleman was questioning the way that we set up our RFP. His suggestion was that we have an RFP or a contract with multiple towing agencies. And the city looked at that, and we saw multiple issues with that, and I'll go over those with you. So the first issue we saw with that was a logistics issue from dispatch. So we're gonna have dispatchers that are already stretched thin, having to filter a list and say, okay, today is this record service, today is this record service, today is this record service. It was gonna cause confusion to make sure that we're being fair and spreading out if we went that route. The second issue is we talked about some of the space was going to be stored for investigations for the police department. With us going to one single vendor, the police department's detectives will know, I need to go to this record service. I don't need to go here, here, here. They don't have to go and search where their vehicles are. The third thing is the citizen logistics, and we get this quite a bit now because the county, they just let whoever operates a towing service, they can be the record service for the county. And what they run into is people don't ever know where their cars are. So if I get arrested one night, the next morning, I may not know where to go pick up my car. So with that, it can become confusing for the citizens to know where their car's at. They'll have one spot, they know where to get the vehicles. And then with it being an RFP process, not everyone is gonna have the same costs. So, one group may say, I'm gonna tow your car for $40. One car may say, I'm gonna tow your car for $50. Well, even though I'm getting arrested, I want the guy that charges $40, not $55. But if we have multiple groups, we can't necessarily delineate with that. So that's why we want to award to one single group, and that's why we recommend to council to award to one single group.
Mike, any thoughts from your perspective and you do?
Well, again, we would like one single group just because it makes it simpler on the officer. Absolutely makes it simpler for dispatch. When you have the one group, you call the one number, that's who comes. If you don't have that one group, then you're searching down that list of phone numbers and you keep calling and calling until you find someone who's available. And that just doesn't work. And for the citizens either. Again, you'd have multiple locations where you'd have to search for your car, and that, to me, that just doesn't make sense.
But individuals that are involved in a car wreck have the choice to call the wrecker of their choice.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. That's a
Okay,
good
it's
point.
just the ones that are abandoned or, or the person's going to jail, they don't get a choice because it's,
Major accidents where the
Yeah.
vehicles have to be reviewed.
but if they're there and can make a choice of who they want to take it, they can.
So it's not totally cutting out.
No,
Okay.
absolutely,
Sure.
absolutely.
Okay. Any more questions?
I just want to point out one other thing, the liability on these things is well worth doing it this way. You get too many times that, you may have 10 people involved and say, well, I had a diamond ring there, it's about $7,000. It's well worth it. And that does happen.
Oh, yeah, you got me worried.
Anything else? Okay. Chief, do you mind just talking a little bit about the game rooms and how often you've done secret shops, where they go in, and how that process works?
Right, I think you all have the stats. It basically shows a lot in 15 and 16. After that, we kind of curtailed that a little bit. But basically what does happen is we will send people in undercover to play the games. By what is legal in Texas is that if you play the game, you put cash in, and if you win, you get coupons for whatever, okay? What has been happening historically here, what we found, is that they've been paying cash. So it's much like Vegas or, where you can find a casino. It's like that, which is illegal in the state of Texas.
It's on email.
Maybe it would have been an email from you.
I thought when I read your report, it was a nice report, but the biggest violations were traffic violations, and I'm trying to put those together.
Well, this is what I would advise you about that is, when you see a lot of traffic stops around the location, that means we're working that location. That means we've had some issues there, and we are actively working that location.
When you find a needle in the parking lot, do you make a report on that?
Generally, no, you don't.
It doesn't come in either. There's no stats.
Right.
So if you were sitting in my seat, I'm asking you, because I don't want to put people out of business. It's not their fault. They have individuals in the parking lot doing things.
I will
And not
also-
all of them are necessarily horrible.
But I'll also say this, in our experience, the vast majority of these locations are not your mom and pop locations. They're all interrelated to each other.
It's a racket. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
In a roundabout way.
the similar ownership, and a lot of times that ownership goes back to the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay.
You know, one more thing I'll tell you, I don't know if you have the stats on how much money these things have generated in license fees and that sort of thing. That's a lot of money. A lot of times, these places bring cash in to pay those fees, which should tell you the amount of money that's.
In a Hello Kitty, lunchbox. I found that out today. $40,000 in a Hello Kitty lunchbox is how they came in and paid their
IRS would need to get involved.
There was a lady, and I meant to bring that, I'm apparently a little discombobulated. A lady that had written, had responded to the article that was in the paper. And she has a gaming, one of these gaming, and she talked about all the senior citizens that came and that it was a real positive thing for them to have a place to go. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess there are some of those people, and I just, you know, there are people that could say we should ban Jaguars now that it's in the city because people get murdered out there all the time. It just bothers me to tell existing businesses to ban them.
What we talked to Gary, we said, you know, is, hey, legislature, we want you to look at this and help curtail the illegal activity inside them.
Okay.
And to continue to look at that industry.
Okay.
And we were emphasizing regulate. Oh,
I'm telling you.
no.
So, okay, thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Next, Councilmember Bryan.
Oh, this is something we had talked about before, but I wanted to bring this back up again because I've got a passion about it. We have some tremendous economic things going on in the city. I do not disagree that things are good, but there are an awful lot of people hurting in our city. A lot of fixed income people that, single parents, that their housing's going up. We have older people, elderly people with prescription problems or food problems, you know, nutrition. We really have some challenges within the city, I think, with our fixed income. And part of the point that I would like to make, I'd like for us to maybe start the stewardship program here at the city council with donating our fees to, and I'm gonna say United Way because there's so many different agencies that they have involved, as well as you can pinpoint whatever agency you may want to choose. And I just think it would be maybe a good example of not only stepping out, but as a group, but also maybe we can push somebody else to do the same thing.
Well, when you say pinpoint, are you saying pinpoint through the United Way? Will we only be working those agencies?
I was, and again, that's what I was thinking of, strictly because of the aspect that the United Way has, you know, 21 agencies, plus you can pick whom you would like to choose if you would think it would be somebody different.
Well, I would say I would be for that, but I give mine to my lodge, and we do nonprofit things in the community, so I've already kind of guided that money that way, so.
And that doesn't make a difference. I mean,
Yeah,
all I'm
but you're
trying to
doing
say is
like
I
that
feel like
before.
that there is needs within the city, and that, you know, hopefully we could set an example of maybe getting some others to join the cause.
You got mine.
I'd be glad to do it. I would do it with the crisis center, because they need, I mean,
Sure.
$33 to the crisis center is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it's a really good idea. I already give quite a bit to United Way, so.
And again, I was just saying that because it's the only people I can think of that has 21 agencies. And the other things, again, it's not anything that we couldn't do whomever. That's not a big deal. I think it's just the example in doing it would be the most important.
I would absolutely agree to do that.
Good deal.
Okay. Do you wanna go ahead and take pictures now?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, let's go take a picture and then we'll come back in and talk about boards.
And council, we're gonna do it two different places, one in Michael's office and then one in front of this,
Your
recorder.
office.
I try to clean it up.
I thought we were gonna, you know, like have the funny one and then the.
Yeah. Usually the chubbiest too.
Yeah.
George Blanda was old. He was still kicking.
How old was he? Pretty up there?
Yeah, he lived 50 years old.
Gary, you wanna go over anything on
I
these
seen
committees?
Daryl Green at 47 years old, outrunning a 23-year-old. It was crazy.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
let's talk boards and commissions. The boards you have on your agenda, those, many of these were, especially like the Citizens Golf Committee, the people were just given to you. So on the board, the Golf Advisory Committee, I had pointed all those. So if there's somebody else that you want to appoint, I can take one of those individuals and make them mine. Because right now we have 2 vacancies on the Citizens Golf Committee.
Well, I was trying to figure out, do we have a list? Is that in here too? And I didn't see what they do.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I think
I'm not
Norma,
asking anything.
Norma or Gary,
Take one of those.
one of them sent.
Norma?
I went ahead and printed everything out that was emailed to you on Friday, yes, sir.
Is it possible I can get the contact number for all my appointees on this board?
Sure. I'll
Just
just-
make me a list.
Do they already have it?
Yes, everything's in that packet.
So in your package, you do have the boards and commissions and committees, a brief summary of what they do. For example, Board of Survey.
Okay, there's 2 different sheets. One of them is the city council boards and commissions description, which is only the boards that council serves on. The next one, right after that, that's the complete boards and commissions where you appoint your board members. And then the one that's underlined, that has the underline, the last document, that's where you get to choose whether you want to reappoint the same person or appointee from your choice.
Yeah.
So I figured if you just write it in, it'll be easier for us to keep track and we're all on the same page.
But it's not to be done until not.
It can be.
It can be, but if you're not ready, then that's fine. We will also talk about the council appointees, which are us and the boards we serve on. Because I think those will be fairly easy, because we have 3 members that are off, and we can say,
You inherited?
no, we all inherited. So.
Mayor, it may not be a bad idea, some of these members and some of these committees have served a very long time. We may want to send a letter, or Norma may want to send a letter to them, let them know that we're considering their reappointment. That way, they don't hear it from someone else
I
that they're
think
no
that's a
longer
good
on the
idea.
board.
I know there are some that we are going to, like P&Z does meet on a regular basis. Some of them don't actually meet on a regular basis. Board of Survey is one of them. The Golf Committee is not as important as planning and zoning.
So the Board of Survey does not, I read somewhere where Kathleen McCullough, and I have no idea now who it is, but hadn't been to any meetings in 12 months, but she said, yes, I'm okay with serving on another page, that's all.
Yes, we contacted them, this was before the new council came on board.
And she was okay,
She said
but
yes.
she made not any, because I looked at all the absent, the
And she didn't make any?
She's been on there since like 1983.
She made,
She, on 2017, she attended 3 of them.
was 17, not
17.
18.
18, she did not.
Okay.
Okay, on Board of Survey, is there anybody else that did not attend?
Thank you for pointing that out.
Just kind of,
Board of Survey?
no, pretty much, they just missed 1 or 2.
So Norma, on Annabelle Spencer, was she on 2 committees and she chose not to stay on one of them?
Correct.
But she is still good with staying on board survey?
Yes,
Okay.
just not the planning and zoning, because that's more time commitment, since they
Okay.
meet more often.
Okay.
And that's the vacancy on P and Z.
Okay.
So has everybody else been to the meetings?
Is
Wow.
everybody else on Board of Survey, I mean, are they attending?
They are. They are.
Can you give us an attendance report?
It was attached to Friday's
Oh, it
email.
was?
Yes, it was.
I missed it, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
See, they send a
I'll go
lot
back.
of good information.
I'll go back and
I
look.
didn't-
It's there, it's a
Okay.
yellow page.
So Kathleen McCullough did not attend any in 18, but everybody else has, true?
They missed some meetings, but they have attended.
Right.
Paul Weaver missed 3 out of the 4, so he only attended 1. The others have missed 2.
Okay. Citizens Golf Committee, why don't we go through their attendance real quick?
Okay. For Citizens Golf, they've only met 3 times out of the year because 3 of the meetings, there was no quorum. So they were supposed to have 6, 3 no quorum, 3 meetings were held.
Okay.
Grayson Hankins, he only missed 1 meeting. Mark Mounts, he missed 1 meeting. Kent McCord attended all 3. Lane Wilson attended all 3. And Eva Graham, she only attended 1, but she was appointed after the 2
She came
meetings,
late
so
in
she's
the
good.
year.
She came late.
Yeah.
Okay, Parks and Rec.
Ten meetings were held in 2018. Larry Brown attended 5 meetings. Andrea Quiroz attended 6 meetings. Nelson Schott attended all meetings, perfect attendance for 18. Lori White, 4 meetings attended. And Cliff resigned. And Blas Campos, 6 meetings attended.
6 out of 10.
He was elected.
Yes, he,
March of 18.
March.
Okay, P and Z.
P and Z meets twice a month. So they have a lot of meetings.
Is that also for December, twice a month, or is it just once a month?
Twice a month in December as well.
Okay.
Okay. So Renee Earls. She attended 9 meetings. She missed 12.
I've had 23 meetings, I think she missed 12.
Jimmy Peacock. Attended 17. Gary Sims. (21). Steve Tessero. (19). Marcy Cleaver. 19. Jim Rector. 20.
Okay. What about traffic advisory doesn't meet very often?
No, it does
No.
not.
Trust me, no.
It only met
Maybe once a year.
1 time in 18.
Okay, zoning board of adjustment.
I wanna be on that board.
Rarely meets.
Right.
It rarely meets.
Okay. CMWD, then we have,
The zoning board?
They
Zoning
rarely
board
ever meet. I'm
rarely
not sure they
meets.
met last year.
There was
Zoning
one
board.
that resigned though, just to
Zoning
clean it
board
up.
met 3, 4, 5, 7
Oh, I'm
times.
sorry, okay.
Didn't Edith resign?
Edith
Or
resigned,
so that
yes.
could be just cleaned
Yeah,
up.
but Anthony Rios kind of took her.
Correct.
Place.
Because we moved a full member from alternate, and he was the one that attended most from the alternate, so we made him a full member.
So Anthony Rios is now District Threes.
And he attended 4 out of the 6 meetings.
Did Edith leave, or did she resign?
She resigned due to work hours.
Then MOUTD.
In the CRMWD, we just wait till they come up,
We just wait
right?
till they
Yeah.
come up.
How about Ms. Warner
Ms. Warner?
on the zoning board of adjustments?
Moody Warner.
She attended 6 out of the 7.
Do the alternates
No.
attend, or they
No.
supposed, okay.
Only, they're called only if there's not a quorum from the full members.
Okay, MOUTD.
Looks like Libby didn't ever make it either, so. Oh, she's an alternate.
She's on alternate.
They've met 12 times, once a month. Thomas Blackstone only missed 1 meeting. Chris Flores missed 5 meetings. Barbara Graff missed 5 meetings. Bill Bowen missed 3 meetings. Mike Gardner, he missed 4 meetings. And Armando, he missed 1 meeting.
Okay, and on that board, when we talk about it, typically we've had 2 council members on that board. So we will be probably making some changes on that one. Mayor Strode, we don't have to worry about that right now. And that is on the boards.
And tell me, the Ector County Appraisal District and the County 911, we went past those and
Yeah, Ector County 911, it's typically staff members such as Chief Gerke, Chief Alvarez will be on there. And so that's more or less a roll type. And which was the other one?
The appraisal district, Barbara was on.
Appraisal District. We have had somebody turn in an application for that. I can have them get that out next time. Excuse me.
So that's not one that is necessarily a council member, she just happened to be.
Yeah, she just asked to be put on there, so that's what. So if there's any of these that you want to change, we can look at it next time. If you will, just get those in early and make sure we get an application from whoever you want to appoint.
In the meantime, we'll send information out to the existing members.
Yeah.
Would you like
Go
us to
ahead.
put them on there to ask them if they wish to continue
I
to
think
submit an
that's a good
application?
Can we have blank applications, or do you have to send them out?
No, I can email them to you.
They're available on the website as well.
They are.
Oh, are they? Okay.
It just doesn't have the TERS board on there, on the website, but
Well, we've already dealt with that. Okay.
Okay, next, talk a little bit about our appointments. We had 3 members come off. I basically took their responsibilities and I'll ask Malcolm and ask Dewey if there are any changes they would like to see on theirs, or if they are good with what they have. And then we can go ahead and start filling out the other positions that we're gonna need to fill.
I'm okay.
Here.
I'll probably holler it out. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Actually, I wouldn't mind being on that downtown Odessa. And, yeah, fair enough, one more, I guess.
Okay. I'll just start at the top of the list. We need 2 council members for Animal Shelter Advisory Committee. So if you would like to, I'll let Norma keep
I don't know, maybe I
notes.
should.
Dietrich, is there anybody else?
Maybe
that-
not.
Nope,
Huh?
you already said it. Anybody else like to serve on the Animal Control Advisory Committee?
I'll do it.
Okay, and Tom. Next is downtown Odessa. So who else would like to serve on downtown Odessa? I know Malcolm said he would.
You know, if somebody wants to take my place, I'll go to MOUTD.
Okay,
I had MOUTD down, but I
well, we're gonna have to have two.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are you only currently on Odessa?
I'm on downtown Odessa, so I can
Just stay.
stay on it.
Okay, so it'll be Malcolm and. Okay, then, Keep Odessa Beautiful, we can have one or two on there.
I'll do keep Odessa.
Okay. Next is MOUTD. Dewey said he would be willing, who wouldn't?
Me,
Okay,
if not.
so we need to remove two. Yeah, MOUTD is, Easy Ride.
And so, for instance, we could replace Barbara and Mike Gardner with Mary
Mike
and
is
Dewey.
actually chairman,
Oh,
so, I know there has been some concerns about Bill Owen, expressed to me,
about that.
Bill Owen.
MOUTD.
But that's just my suggestion.
That's due.
So we gonna do Barbara and Bill Owen?
And put Mary.
Okay, wait, I'm
Yes.
lost. Where are we?
MOUTD,
So MOUTD, which is this one. And prior to
Easy Ride.
now, Barbara and Mike.
Barbara and Mike were on
Yeah.
there. That is Easy Rider.
Okay, now I'm sorry, I'm slow. So on that one, who was going on then? Or y'all are taking Barbara and,
Bill Bowen, Dietrich and I are serving there, and then Michael's president this year.
No, Mike's
Mayor.
president right now,
okay.
so. Is everybody good with that? Okay,
Okay, so Barbara's going off, Bill's going off,
yeah, and we're putting
Maren.
Aaron. Next one is Motran.
I'd like to be on Motran or on NPO. I'm not sure. Are you on one or the other? They meet
There's
the
two
same
separate-
day. I
two
knew there were
separate
two.
entities. I went on there because Judge Redford asked me to, and she was, I didn't know she was leaving at the time.
Oh, that's
And we've been able to get the programs that we need as far as roads, about 60/40 Odessa right now.
Right, on Motran.
No, that's Motor.
Motor.
And so, Motran is a good board too, that's James.
That'd be Motran too.
Yeah,
How
we put
many
two on
can
there.
we
We
get?
put two on there, that's, yeah,
Okay.
so. Peggy and Tom are going to Motran. Odessa Council for the Arts and Humanities, we need one representative.
Where's my training? Y'all have got to talk slower for me.
Michael.
So here's Motran.
Yeah.
Look at this list.
How many we put on Motran?
Two on Motran, and then one on the art, we're looking for somebody for the arts.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, he's going down this list.
I'll do the arts, and
Oh,
you can
okay.
maybe take me off keep Odessa beautiful.
I'd like to go and keep Odessa.
Okay, there you
Okay,
go.
so we'll switch those two. Next is Odessa Firefighters Relief and Retirement Pension Board. Dietrich, would you like to go on that one?
You know, I receive a pension check. I don't know if that's one that I should
Yeah,
serve
that's right,
on.
because Mike didn't.
Yeah.
His mom did. So we need somebody to go on that board, that's an important board.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, that is a critical board, and better financial background you have, probably the better you'll serve. You don't get all the good ones. You're not getting all the good ones.
We love you. Peggy volunteered for that award.
All right, go along.
I heard her say she
We're
would.
gonna pass the buck.
After everybody looked at her.
You know, nobody else is qualified.
And that's just not true. There are a lot of qualified people in this room.
They all just forgot their qualifications.
Yeah, like I said, I love that committee. I'm very interested in it, but I don't
Um,
think I should serve on it.
Next, Personnel Policy Committee. That is 3 members.
Council, we don't have that anymore.
Well, that's one
So we
way.
did get rid of, okay, so that one's taken
That
care
one's
of.
gone.
Next one is the Rotary Walkway Committee. They very rarely meet. It is that park over there by Albertsons, I'm sorry, Market Street now. There's a walkway, and they put people on there, and so.
I think it's been inactive for a number of years now, Mayor, so I'm not even sure it's necessary.
Okay. Next is Water and Wastewater Committee. That's an as needed, so if somebody would like to learn about wastewater.
Yeah, I'll be on it.
Okay.
That's gonna be a really big deal for us with the monies we're getting ready to spend.
One of them that wasn't on here, but I saw that Barbara was appointed to it, is the Airport Advisory Board.
Mayor, that's been dissolved by the city of Midland.
It has been dissolved, okay. I just wanted to make sure I saw her on there. So,
That's not it's not Slaymire out here.
no, that was Space Board,
Yeah.
so.
Who's Midland, by the way?
So,
Sorry.
if you'll review yours, Michael's gonna send out letters, or I can send them out, just saying, hey, if you'd like to continue on this board, please fill out this application. That way we're updating everything. And we will try to have them in quick as we can before the next meeting.
What about the mayor's drug and crime? You don't need anybody else?
Mayor's Drug and Crime, Malcolm has been serving on that. What that does is that it's kind of an ad hoc committee. And what we've been able to do is talk to high school kids, find out what the problems are. They're the ones that triggered us and said, hey, synthetic marijuana is a problem. And we were one of the few cities in the state to pass a ban on it, where we would charge you $2,000 a packet if you had that. And we actually shut some places down because we had some people where the owner went out to Graham's and of this little pot shop, smoked it and was beating his head on the curb. And we had an employee smoke at this place and died that night. So they keep us kind of informed. If you want to serve on it, you're more than welcome. We get kids from both high schools, actually all 3 high schools.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and that would be wonderful. And they've told us about, now they're using wax in e-cigs, they're putting alcohol in e-cigs, and about the time we stop something, they do something else.
Yeah, they do a good job as far as the sheriff and chief of catching us up to what's going on in Odessa and stuff like that, so.
It is an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, it is, it really is.
So
Well,
Mayor
being
and
on that
Malcolm,
campus, I
thought
kind
about
of
going
see a
to-
lot of it.
Yeah, I'm on it.
You would be
And I'd
fantastic.
like to stay on it.
Yeah.
I got some
Yeah.
issues in my district that
Yeah, because Malcolm and I have our mouths open going, really?
Yeah.
So if you will have those, anybody you want to replace, anything like that, we can go ahead and we'll try to do that next time. Yes, ma'am.
So what about the Odessa partnership?
Partnership, Malcolm is on that right now. Dewey's on it, and I'm actually on it, so it's, they are talking about changing it maybe. But I was gonna talk to Betsy a little bit more about it.
You're automatic because of the mayor.
So they're, one of the fears is it's gotten too big, and they're wanting to be able to get all the taxing committees to work together, what it was truly designed to do.
Yeah.
Instead of more information on, actually be able to work together.
If we don't want to replace someone, but if there's some spots that, like Parks and Rec advisory or for at-large and mayor, if you all don't have, is it
That's fine, I
Can we
mean, that's
still
fine,
have
I'll be
people
happy to do some of
apply?
that,
Okay,
so,
that's not, I know it's a District 5 appointment, but not all of them are District 5.
because they just basically filled in the names, and so.
But if you have. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So these appointments don't have to live in your district? You just prefer that they
You-
do?
It's, you know, if, unfortunately, not a lot of towns, a lot of people don't apply for these.
Right,
And we've been trying to use some of them on the young professional boards,
right.
because that's our future.
Yeah.
If we can get some of these young people plugged in, then that's really gonna work out very well.
And the people on these boards need to live within the incorporated city limits?
Yes. Isn't that right, Norma?
Some do, yes.
Okay, but can they be county?
They can be county.
It depends upon each board, how
It-
they're
it does.
designed. or how they're put
Exactly,
together.
yeah.
And
Okay.
some boards may require specific expertise.
Right, right, I read that. I only got 2? No?
Mayor, we only had one for the water wastewater, which was Malcolm.
Judy was on it, are you
Don,
still
oh,
on
that's
it?
Yeah.
right, okay.
Oh, was
Yeah.
Cause I
We
looked
met
to
a bunch.
see who.
Don't sit
we
there
read a
and
bunch.
pretend like you're not
That's gonna
listening.
be so important though.
Because a lot of these were put together at a time.
Oh,
when
God.
they-
Yeah.
Peggy's right, that one will become
That's
critical.
gonna be a really, cause, yeah, if anybody decides they don't wanna be on Odessa Partnership or wastewater, after you get into it, let me know, cause I have an interest in both of those.
Well, would you like to go ahead and take the wastewater?
No, not if you wanna be on it.
No, go ahead. I said I wasn't gonna be on too many of these committees, but I picked up 2, so you can have one.
Let's make a deal here.
Right.
Okay.
Crazy this was it.
That's for you.
They just passed out a revised. Here's, for the game rooms.
The wording now, if I could.
Sure, go ahead.
Says we're addressing the legislature to again address the issue of game rooms and to consider ways to increase the ability to curtail illegal activities in the areas around and adjacent to game rooms.
I like that.
And then section 1 just reads that the Odessa City Council requests the legislature to consider ways to increase the ability to curtail illegal activities in the areas around and adjacent to game rooms.
Sounds good.
Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
So that takes care of the property itself, right? I mean, where it's saying,
That inside the
In and
game
around.
room.
yeah, inside the game room, that does still address inside the game room, correct?
Well,
The way it's
our
worded,
part
it
is
says-
just saying we want them to basically consider it. They're the ones
Oh,
that
yeah.
have to drill down and.
Right, right. I mean, but I was just reading where it says activities in the areas around and adjacent to game rooms.
I guess your question is, does it also include illegal
Inside.
activities
Inside.
inside?
Because that's gonna be the motherboard issues
Yes.
and all that.
I took out a reference to specifically inside the game rooms, but maybe I misunderstood what y'all were saying.
I think go ahead and put it back in there just to,
Okay.
in
So-
and around.
Request the legislature
around.
consider ways to increase building in game rooms and the areas around and adjacent.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Catch.
Couldn't keep up with those committees, but doggone it, it was something. You don't have to put that, Paul.
Okay, we have got 20 minutes until then, but
Can I say, I'm sure you already talked about
Yes.
the sports complex when
Yes.
I was driving. Actually, I was looking at parks, so I really was.
Huh.
But, I do wanna say one thing, if I can say something on that. I talked with Monica Schauner today,
And I did too.
and did you report what she said already?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I think I was getting my picture ready.
Okay. She actually has talked with 6 hoteliers that between them own 12 hotels. And their commitment is a 3-year commitment for 500 rooms between $99 and $119 a room over the weekends. I think we'd said $159 maybe in the paper. So 99 to 119 for 3 years, that's their commitment if we end up working on a sports complex. I
Now,
told
this
her-
vote is just to,
Investigate
resolution.
it,
Right,
investigate it, right.
Because we are waiting the report
Right.
from last year.
Yes.
Finished by the end of the
No,
month.
no, folks, I didn't know what she was.
All right, we have a few minutes.